Hi, welcome to the television production class. We have a great treat for you today. Now, without further ado, please welcome the voice of the 76ers, Mr. Marc Zumoff.
How is everybody today?
Excellent. Good.
Excellent. Anybody great?
I'm great.
Anybody feeling really? Thank you. Okay. You know, I work for Pat Croce. And if he asks me how I'm doing and I don't say great, he wants to know what's wrong. Because it's great to be alive. It's great to be able to say that, hey, I got up this morning and I could see you and I could see you and I could see myself and I can experience life. Because life is good. Life is good for me because I wake up every single morning with a smile on my face. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Tired, I have to go to school.
Yes.
And you don't want to wake up. First of all, I got to tell you that you have a top-notch television facility here. Consider yourselves very fortunate. That's the first thing. And let me tell you something. The Bulldog, excellent newspaper. I'm telling you, better than a lot of college publications that I've read. So any of you, by the way, who are interested in the journalism field, you'd be smart to write for the Bulldog. But why do I wake up every morning with a smile on my face? Anybody think they have a guess as to why? Anybody? I take medication. I do take medication. Do you know what that medication is?
Happy pills?
No. No. I work in television. I have a job in television. Think about this. Okay? Are you ready? I sit in the front row for NBA games. And I get paid to do it. I travel first class on a charter airliner. I go to major cities around the country. I stay in four-star hotels. I get $50 a day meal money. And I have a six-figure salary. Life is good for me. Now, it took me a long time to get there, but life is very good. This is something I've wanted to do ever since I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And I reached that goal through a lot of hard work. A lot of nonsense, a lot of politics, a lot of things I had to kind of wade through, a lot of people who were standing in my way. But I did it because I was very passionate about it. Anybody know what passion means? What does it mean to be passionate about something? Go ahead.
Have like a desire to do something?
A desire, not just but a burning desire. Because it makes you feel what when you do it? Good. Makes you feel good. Absolutely. There is no law that says when you get out of here and you get into college and then you go through college, you go out in the working world, that you can't be passionate about something, that you can't go out and have fun doing it. And I have fun doing this. Is this one of your favorite classes in here?
Yes.
Absolutely, because you're doing TV. And that's what I do for a living. So always remember, even if you decide not to get into TV, maybe you want to get into politics, maybe you want to be a lifer at McDonald's, whatever that happens to be, make sure you ask yourself, am I passionate about it and am I having fun? Because passion, someone once said, not me, helps good people to do great things. So that's my little thing about passion and about having fun and about what I get to do for a living each and every day, which, by the way, is not every day. It's 3 or 4 days a week, and I only work from October to May, and then I'm off over the summer. Now, there are a lot of things that you could do in television besides what I do, which is to be an announcer for a professional team. Essentially, you could break television up into two areas, in front of the camera and behind the camera. Who here would like to work in front of the camera? Why?
I like to perform, I think it's, when I'm on camera, I feel energized,
Beautiful. Absolutely. Anybody else want to be in front of the camera? Why? Do you have similar feelings?
Yeah, it's
Absolutely, absolutely. Or although a lot,
It's still yourself, but
you're letting it come out.
you can let go.
Thank you. And to be able to perform and allow yourself to come out, whether it be on stage or by way of radio or performing in front of a camera, is a great high. Which brings me to my next thing, by the way. I don't need alcohol and I don't need drugs to get high. You know, we were talking about happy pills before and you were talking about medication. Well, you know, it sounds kind of corny. It sounds kind of corny, but what I do for a living makes me high. And I get that same kind of feeling when I'm on camera. I work in live television. Live television. Much of what you do here is tape, so if somebody makes a mistake, you could start over. In live TV, your concentration level has to be so great that you are literally high because you're zoned in. And when you're zoned in like that, it creates this feeling that is just beyond description. Now, if you don't work in front of the camera, you can work behind the camera. What are some of the things you can do behind the camera that might be of interest to you? Yeah.
Cameraman?
Cameraman? Absolutely. Like some of these fine fellows right here. What else? What else is there to do?
The audio.
Audio? Absolutely. As you're going to see from the tape that I show you, a good telecast has great audio. Our audio guy before a game will go out, he'll string microphones over the baskets to get natural sounds. We wear headsets, he has to make sure they work. He'll have microphones near the benches to pick up players yelling. They'll have microphones around the crowd so you can pick up the crowd. So good audio is good television. Don't underestimate the power of audio. What else can you do in TV? Come on, what are some of the jobs that you've done in here? Go ahead.
Do like technical stuff, like special effects too.
Absolutely. Special effects meaning?
Like the toaster, like putting titles off.
Okay, absolutely. You could do a lot of production work, and you'll see some of what's done in here for production work. Some of the stuff is pretty complicated. What else can you do? You could be a director, and you all know what a director does. Chooses the shots that are shown, okay? And who punches out those shots for the director? The switcher, it's called a technical director, who is in concert with the director choosing the shots. And the fascinating thing about a news program versus a live sporting event is that a news program is pretty well scripted. That if you ever get an internship at Channel 6 or Channel 3 and you look at their news script, all the shots are pretty well determined. Whereas at a basketball game, you don't know who's going to make the shot. You don't know if a coach is suddenly going to flip out. You don't know if the fans are going to start cheering. You don't know if a guy's going to get injured. So a director of a live event where it's not scripted in advance really has to be on their toes. What else can you do? How about think of some of the things that you see while you're watching a basketball game. I'll relate it to what I do on television. What are some of the things that you see in a basketball game that might be a job for somebody in the business? What's that?
Replay.
Exactly, replay. And you know, in the old days, replays were done literally with videotape machines. They would run, record the game. Suddenly a guy would make a slam dunk. You would rewind it real quick, and you would roll it out in slow motion. You know how they do it now? Computers. Absolutely. The video goes right into a computer. It's digitized, and then instantly you could spit it back out and show it again. And there are people needed to operate that stuff. And again, it's during live TV, so there's a real high that goes. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Just another question. The guys that do the statistics,
Absolutely. I have a guy who sits next to me who is zoned in like me, and he's viewing the game from a quantitative standpoint, looking to see what kind of stats that he could feed me to enhance the broadcast. Who do you think is the most important guy who we haven't even mentioned yet? Or lady? He's important, but not the most important. This person's more important than me, and I'm the lead announcer. I talk more than anybody. Who do you think the most important person is? Not the director, not the technical director, camera people, not the who? Absolutely. The most important person. The producer is primarily responsible for the look of the show. He has charge of what I say. He has charge of what the director does. He determines or she determines the overall look of a show. Very important job, okay? So you have a lot of different areas that you could choose from. And as we view this tape, I'll show you some other things that you can do as part of television that aren't even part of the broadcast directly. Do we have any people thinking about college in here? Okay, I've talked to you about some of the jobs that are available. A lot of people will ask me, well, what school should I go to? What's the best school for me? Do I have to find a good communication school? And the answer is absolutely not. I went to Temple because it was reputed to be, and in fact is, one of the best communication schools in the country. But I didn't have to go there. I could have gone anywhere. Kind of reversing Temple's whole thing where they say I could have gone anywhere, but I chose Temple. Well, I did choose Temple, but I could have gone anywhere. Because if you feel inside like you have the talent to succeed and the will to succeed, then you could go anywhere. It doesn't really matter. If you're picking a school, my advice to you is warm fuzzies. You know what that means, warm fuzzies? That's like when you and your friend, you're out, you're at the mall, you're going to the movies, you got a nice vibe, you're kicking it, you don't have any homework, the weekend's ahead of you, and you're feeling good. When you go to a school and the professors seem like they're cool, and the kids seem like they're cool, and the location is cool, you're close to home, you don't want to be close to home, and the curriculum, and some of the offerings as far as the courses are concerned, if all this stuff gels, then go there. And don't worry about the television courses. Every school has some form of communications courses. And of course, you don't want to go to a school that doesn't have any. But my point is, don't worry about it so much. Make sure the overall vibe is right for you. Another important thing is internships. I was talking to a fellow here who works for the newspaper in Pennington. There are radio stations all over this area where you can get inside just to see what it's like to be in there. There are TV stations. There's New Jersey Public TV. You can go to New York. You can go to Philadelphia. Get yourself an internship. It's unbelievable what you will learn on the job from people who are in it. And then, once you meet these people, make sure you remember their names. Because later on, when you're in college and you graduate and it comes time to look for a job, you're going to want to look these people up and say, remember me, the guy who got you coffee? The woman who went out and bought your lunch for you? Who was very nice and learned at your knee? Well, I think that you're great, and now can you help me out? This is a very, very, very difficult career to break into. But don't let that dissuade you for a moment. People will say no. People will refuse to interview you. They won't want to look at your tape. Well, you can't break into this business. You have to have experience. Well, these are people who were just like you, who never had experience also. They had to find a way to break in, and you will find a way to break in. Anybody have any questions before I go on?
Please stand up to the microphone if you're going to ask one.
Anybody have any questions? And by the way, at some point, if you want to ask me, what kind of guy is Allen Iverson? And, can I get his autograph? I can answer those questions too. All right? Why don't we, because I want to save a little bit of time here at the end of class, because I know that you guys are pretty much into this. Let's watch some TV, okay? And I may start and stop the tape a little bit just to kind of give you an idea as to what goes into a program. It goes by in 2.5 hours, and it's entertaining, but I want you to be able to understand and have a full appreciation for what happens. This, by the way, is a telecast from last year's playoffs, Game 3, the Sixers in Orlando. One job that you could have at a TV station is in promotions. I have a friend of mine who was over at my house last night, works for Channel 6. All he does all day long is script. Coming up tonight on Oprah Winfrey, we have Three-Legged Monsters, or whatever it happens to be, okay? You know some of those shows, and you've seen these promotional announcements. Tonight on The Late Movie, and then they show you a clip from the movie, and there's a guy voicing it over. Well, they have people who produce those, and they crank them out all day long, every day. And that's what this is. This is a promo for Phillies baseball, which is shown on Comcast Sportsnet, the channel that's showing this playoff game, which was last May.
Call 215-463-1000.
After every 76er playoff game, tune to Comcast Sportsnet
for Sixers Postgame Live. A full recap of the game, including interviews, highlights, and in-depth analysis of all the playoff action.
76ers basketball on Comcast Sportsnet. Totally Philly, totally sports.
Okay, first thing you're going to see is called a tease. Anybody know what that is? What is a tease? What does a tease do?
Might happen, and then it makes you want to watch the whole thing.
Perfect. That's the dictionary right there. It makes you want to see it, okay? Now, it's going to go by in a minute, but it took us literally 3 days to do, from concept to finish. First, I had to meet with my producer, who again is the brain. We had to decide on a theme. Then I had to script it. Then he had to throw it away, and I had to script it again. Then we had to go through it and make sure we liked all the words. Then I had to record my voice. Then they had to mix the music with my voice. Then we had to go out and find the pictures. And I couldn't write anything unless I knew that we had the pictures to go with it. Because if I wrote about Allen Iverson doing this, but we didn't have this, what am I going to show in its place? So, and this is a good rule of thumb for you. If you're ever writing anything for TV, make sure you have pictures to go along with it. Okay?
Who we are as a culture, as Philadelphians, is borne out in the fabric of our lives. We hold proudly our place in history, the foundation for the free and the brave. We hold steadfast to our love of the arts and our eternal hopes for the underdog. We hold dear to our unique culinary delights, be they baked or grilled, we love them. We even tolerate the school code, a highway out-of-towners call I-76. To Philadelphians, this is ritual. So too are the NBA playoffs. The springtime wars with the Boston Celtics and hard-fought finals with the Lakers inflamed our passions. But the passion and the playoffs have been missing from Philly since Hersey Hawkins gave us this memory. Tonight, the playoffs return to Philadelphia, renewing a piece of our history. Arriving to a new place, a new time for the making of tomorrow's memory.
Okay, see all this animation that's going through here? We have someone who works full-time at Comcast Sportsnet. We have two people, I'm sorry, and that's all they do, is they design animation packages. Again, something else that isn't necessarily connected with live game production that might interest you. If you like computers, if you like to create, if you don't necessarily like the pressure of live TV, but you're a little bit more of an artist, then maybe this is for you. Something like this. Animation. Look at all the different elements that are going through it. Now, people always ask me, do I have a script? Absolutely not. I have a general idea of what our show is going to be about, but I have no script. My producer said to me before the game, we're going to show you a shot of this, 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 and this, and I want you to talk about it. And then I want you and Steve to talk about this, 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 and this, and we talk. I have a list in front of me, but there is no script.
Where were you in the springtime of '91? George Bush, for example, was busy running the country. Larry Hughes, not even a twinkle in the NBA's eye. He was in junior high. The Big Five was ending its round-robin format, ironically something it is about to resume. And the late Frank Rizzo was seeking the office of mayor of Philadelphia. And the 76ers, well, they were hosting an NBA playoff game. It's the last time they did it. Consequently, a huge throng is about to come into the First Union Center, eagerly anticipating this one. It'll be the first ever NBA playoff game here. And Comcast Sportsnet is bringing it to you live. It'll be the NBA playoffs, a pivotal Game 3 between the 76ers and the Orlando Magic. Good evening to you, and welcome once again to 76ers playoff basketball here at the Mayor's Steve Mix. I'm Marc Zumoff. Steve, they're noisy. You think it'll be an advantage for the Sixers?
It has been all season long for the Philadelphia 76ers, Mark. When you take a look at the last...
Okay, look at this element. Background has to be pre-produced. Takes a long time to do. Logo has to be electronically photographed, put up here. This has to be thought of, home, sweet center, and prepared by somebody. All these facts are researched and then given to somebody who electronically puts them up, okay? So you have about 3 or 4 different people working over different time periods for this 10 seconds of TV. Just so you have an appreciation of what goes into it.
They have won them all. Last home loss was April 2nd, losing to Cleveland 80.
Let me just, I'll give you a 1-minute taste of what I do, and then I'll field some questions from you. See these commercials going by here? Commercial production, great job. Very high pressure. You're dealing with advertising agencies. You're dealing with clients. Many times you're dealing with film as opposed to video. A 30-second television commercial can take hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce and literally months from start to finish. You've got to choose a location. You've got to script it. You have to come up with actors. You have to go to a casting agency. You have to come up with a crew. But fun? To me, it beats everything. It's our sideline reporter, Dee Lynham. People ask me, how long does it take me to prepare for a game? I say I'm always preparing, but basically on the day of the game, from when I first sit down with all my notes and everything that's in my head, and I have a game sheet that I prepare on computer with all kinds of information, takes me about 3 or 4 hours.
For the first Union Center in this game,
I'll go about a minute here and then I'll take some questions.
The series is locked at 1. Against Iverson. Grant by Geiger. Matt pulls it away for the Sixers. The Sixers winners in Game 1 on Sunday, convincingly too, 104-90. In fact, it was the Sixers who set the tone with a physical play in that first game. Iverson over Armstrong before any double comes, he hits the deuce.
Allen Iverson 1 for 4 in the first quarter of the second game, opens up tonight's ball game.
By the way, I'm working with a color guy, as you know. It's very important for us not to fight each other. You know, it's real easy in this business as a performer to want to assert your own ego and be the star. My job, as I see it, is to set him up and make him look good. Feed him information that's going to make him look good. All right, any questions? Go ahead.
Why do you call Steve Mix the mayor? I mean,
well, Steve Mix used to play for the Sixers back in the 70s and early 80s. And there was a part of the court where, along the right baseline, where he used to consistently hit jump shots. And the man who used to be the announcer for the Sixers then, Bill Campbell, nicknamed that area of the court Mixville, because he was there so much and always seemed to hit shots there. So he ended up calling him the mayor of Mixville. So I call him the mayor. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What would you consider your best call ever?
Oh, jeez. That's a hard question, because I'm always very critical of myself. Anytime there's a game-winning shot, I know Aaron McKee just won a game in overtime against Cleveland. That's always fun. Last year against Indiana, Allen Iverson stole the ball in the backcourt and fed Aaron McKee for a three-pointer. Everybody was very excited. I enjoyed doing that. I think my best call ever is yet to come. And that'll be when the Sixers win a championship. Anybody else? Yeah. Go ahead.
Before you got into television, did you ever do any radio?
Absolutely.
And was it more difficult because you have to call everything rather than just, since it's television, people can see, you know?
I think when you're doing radio, you're geared to one specific thing. You're painting a picture for somebody who can't see. When you're doing television, I try to say things that accent what people can already see. Why should I tell you that Allen Iverson is shooting a 15-footer when you could see that? So I'll try to tell you that he's shooting it in rhythm, or that he's taking a shot that maybe he shouldn't take, or that shot just gave him 14 points for the first quarter. That's what you try to do as a TV guy. And I think that's a little bit harder. You're dealing with pictures, you're dealing with a color guy, you got a producer in your ear all the time. I think it's probably a little bit, it's different than radio. I won't say it's harder, but it's different.
What do you like best about your work or your job?
I think the fact that I'm doing something live. I like the live element of it the best. And that it's sports, and sports is fun. Go ahead.
How, why, and I guess when did you decide to go into basketball production?
I wanted to do something in television and radio probably since I was about 8 or 9. And when I was a kid, I used to turn the sound down of any event, be it a basketball game, hockey game, football game, baseball game, and announce the game into my tape recorder. And then I'd come home from school like you guys will do today when, back in those days, there was no cable and there was no game on. And I used to make up a game. I used to just make up a game from my head. And what I used to do is, you probably can't see it here now, but if you have the TV on, sometimes it's on a channel that's not hooked up and you have static. Well, I would do the game next to the TV with that static, and I would make the static the crowd. And I would regulate it. So if somebody had a big basket or scored a goal, I would crank it up. And it would go, and it would sound like a crowd. Anybody else? Anything else? Remember, have fun, because that's what this is about. And passion. It helps good people do great things. And listen to Mr. Flagel, because he knows what he's talking about. It's almost 1:15. Okay.
Out of here.
Thanks, guys.